Welcome to Savvy Stewardship with Tim Kaiser. Today we're going to talk about how much is needed for retirement and how much needs to be invested on a monthly basis to make that goal happen. So stick around. Today we're going to use what they call the annuity method, calculate and determine how much a person needs to retire on and how much they need to invest monthly. We can figure this number with understanding what our gross salary is, what the current inflation rate is, the expected return on our investments, how long we plan to work, how long we plan to retire before we die, how much we want in our account when we die, things of that. We're gonna talk about that. And I've made this Google Sheet as simple as possible, and we will go into that now. And select this Google Sheet. There we go. The annuity method. And so all you need to do is plug in your personal numbers, and I'll tell you where to find the numbers as we go along. And this will give you a back of the envelope number so you know how much of a percentage you should be investing and if you're on track or not on track. And this is not designed to discourage anybody, because there will be times when we say, oh, I want to retire at 65 and we won't be able to. So we can manipulate the numbers and push it out by a year or two and change the outcome by doing that. So again, a lot of this is our best guess on certain things, but we do have historical data to go by. We're not just arbitrary plugging numbers in here. We're using historical data and current data and doing our best to come up with a number. And this is something that should be recalibrated on a regular basis because the numbers will change. How much you have saved for retirement will change from year to year. Hopefully it's going up. Your salary will change from year to year, things of that nature. So let's get into it. And I'll just plug in the numbers and we'll talk about it a little bit as we go. In this fictional family, their wage is $100,000. So that first cell, you just punch in 100,000 and we move from there. Gross investment for retirement. This is how much you're currently investing into your retirement fund. This family is doing 10%. How much will you get from Social Security annually? So if you go into SSA, I think it's ssa.gov, and you set up an account, they will tell you how much you will have scheduled to come to you when you retire in today's dollars. So we'll punch in that number and we'll say it's $18,000. So this person will get $18,000 a year guaranteed as long as Social Security is solvent. I know there's a lot of bad news out there, but we can only go with what we have today. Expected annual return on investments. I'm going to use the S&P 500 number, which has been since like the 1950s. It's returned on average 10.25% per year. Yes, some years will be 15, some years will be -2. All we can do is put in the average in there, and that's what we're doing. There's always going to be somebody complaining about the numbers because they're imperfect, but guess what? Life is imperfect. Our world is imperfect, and we're just doing the best we can. So total currently saved for retirement, and this is going to be a negative number. I'm going to say this family has actually, to keep things consistent, we're going to say they have $100,000 saved. We're going to put it as a negative to make sure the formulas work correctly. $100,000 saved. For the red cells are numbers that are calculated automatically, so you need to not mess with those numbers. How many years before we retire? This is a fictional family. The 40-year-old is planning to retire at 67. They're going to put in 27 years. What is the current rate of inflation? I'm going to put in 3.1%. That number can be calculated by going to most government sites. You just Google current rate of inflation. They'll give you the most current number. It's usually on the news all the time too. Now, I'm going to editorialize here for a second about inflation. Inflation is not businesses arbitrarily raising their prices because the economy is tough. Inflation is actually the increase of the money supply made by the government, by the Fed. They print more money, and what happens is the value of the dollar erodes, and businesses basically often have to raise their prices because what was once valued at $1 is now 75 cents. So they got charged $1.25 or something like that. And so that's what it is. So instead of blaming the business owners for inflation, you need to put the blame straight on the government. That's where it belongs. Expected years of retirement. Now, this is how old we expect to be when we die. And so in this case, the person retired at 67. We're going to say they're going to live to 90, which is a long time. Most men, I think the average age is they're going to retire going to be 78. We're going to say this person has a great genealogy and they're going to retire. They're going to live for 23 years. So they need this money to last 23 years. Social Security and Medicare taxes are currently 7.65%. That's important because when we retire, we won't be paying that anymore, right? You won't pay Social Security, Medicare taxes, and you won't be actually investing into your retirement. So let's go down to the bottom. This is where our numbers get fun. So this should all calculate for you automatically if you put the numbers in correctly. And so wage replacement ratio is if we subtract out our retirement percentage and our Medicare and Social Security wages, we need to replace 82.35% of our current income, which comes down to $82,349 or $350. That's what it's going to be. That's what we need to replace. We also know that we're going to get some Social Security payments. So this is going to be reduced by an additional $18,000. So we need to replace $64,349. So that's a lot less than $100,000, except we haven't calculated inflation yet. So by the numbers we put in here with a 3.1% inflation rate and the time that that's compounding year in and year out, that $64,349 actually needs to be $146,732. Now, I know that's not very fun at all, as it's the way it is. And so inflation matters. And if this number changes, because it will change, and who knows, maybe the Fed will, with their tightening program, they'll get this number down to 2%. Let's just put that number in there now for 2%. Let's just see how much different that makes. So now we're looking at $146,000. Just by reducing by a percent, it goes to $109,000. What if it goes up to 4% though? Wow, $185,000. So let's just stick with the 3.1. That's a lot. That's a lot better. Inflation matters. That's my point. Inflation matters. And so at the time of retirement, this family needs to have in their retirement savings account $1,778,557. They need that amount in their savings, their investment account, to make it last for the 23 years of retirement, right? And so that's super important to have that money set aside. Now, the amounts people have set aside are drastically well below that. Most people will not retire with the amount of money, but that's really up to us whether we do it or not. The whole idea behind waiting till you're out of debt totally to start investing is, I think, problematic because time is probably the biggest thing that matters. The longer we wait to start investing, the harder and more expensive it becomes. So it's important for us to start investing as early as possible. And we began, and I've told the story before, so if you're a regular listener, you're probably tired of hearing it, but we began investing at 1% when we had zero margin in our budget. And we thought, okay, let's just do 1%. And amazingly, since it was a pre-tax benefit, our take-home pay didn't change a whole lot. We started the ball rolling and getting something into a retirement account. And at the time, my employer was matching dollar for dollar to the first 3%. So now I went from what I did $1, they put in $1, now it doubled. And we did that and kept increasing it a little until we could get into the point where, our margin expanded by, paying down debt or scrutinizing expenses or whatever the case may be. And we started doing that. And now we've been doing that for we've been married 31 years. And we start doing that a little bit at a time. And we look back now and those numbers are dramatically different. And now it's to the point where the growth of that investment is way beyond what we put in there, but you have to start, right? So in this family, so they need that almost $2 million set aside on day one of retirement. And the way this formula is set up, they will spend it all during retirement. Now, if you want to, have more than that at retirement, you can change the numbers. But this is the annuity method where you retire with zero. And that's you die with zero money in the bank. And that's one way. You always can change that number and say, well, I want to have $1 million in the bank when I die. That way I can give it to my kids. Then just change the number in the formula. That's fine. But this is just one way of doing it. So the monthly contribution amount needed is $1,195. And the percentage of gross income is 14.35. So it's really close to the magic number that most people use at 15%. Can you go wrong with 15%? Yeah, you could. You might say it's way overfunded. I don't know. Let's just say if this person let's say they were doing a dramatic job of of saving. Let's say they had $250,000 in savings, and now they already had 250, which look at the difference this makes. Now they only had to put in $170, and it's 2%. So if they already had 250, let's say that they had an inheritance from their parents, and they said, you know what, let's not touch this. I know, funny story. Let's not touch this. Let's not spend it. Let's not act like we're rich. Let's just put it into a savings account, into a retirement fund, and invest it for the future. And they did that, and now they're still putting in 15%. They're probably going to overfund their retirement. And so that money, again, something a refrain we speak a lot on this channel is the money. So dollars in competition. Every dollar that's saved can't be invested. Every dollar invested can't be given. Every dollar given can't be used to pay down debt. It kind of goes on and on. Or it's a balancing act that's really important to understand. And so it's very important. So we said 100,000, and it's vital that we have this number to be accurate for us. So that's it. Real simple. I mean, this is a simple thing to do. Hopefully this will be a blessing to you, and you can use this little calculation. And in this thing, if you've watched all the videos, we started with a personal net worth, and this was the example we used, the personal net worth. We did a budget, a zero-based budget for this family. We did a debt snowball, and then this one only has 4 categories. But in that video, the debt snowball video, it shows you how to expand it, and even a sinking fund, a small sinking fund one now, the retirement. So this will be available in a link inside the description to get this handy dandy little tool you can use for yourself. So I hope this has helped somebody today. If it has, please like, subscribe, share, comment, and I will see you soon with another video. Until then, I dare you to profit so you can practice, promote radical, revolutionary, fearless generosity. Blessings.